we're dealing with late ice conditions currently, and the lake that we're in maxes out at about 15 to 18 feet or so. Sometimes you get into situations where the oxygen is depleted and these fish are 3 feet under the ice. You know, I think we've all had that experience where you go out and you put a hurting on the fish one day, and you go out a month later or whatever it is, and you start drilling out that same lake, and you'd swear there wasn't a fish in there. So like I said earlier, we have a small body of water, the oxygen is depleted in here, and the reason I know that is the fish are right under the ice. I mean, look at that's all. I put about 2 reels to my handle and he's up, and I'm sitting in 14 feet. Now it's not a super deep lake, but you know, if you're fishing with like traditional flashers or 2D sonar, you're looking at anywhere from 12 to 18 degrees down and out to your hole. You know, if you take a flashlight, that's about what it looks like. You know, that's about the angle that you'd look straight down underneath your hole. Today I'm fortunate enough to have a live scope unit. I start panning around, you know, with this, and I can look outwards of 100 feet. Instantly, Keys and I came out here and we started looking around, and we probably got a half a dozen holes into drilling this lake, and it was really evident that the fish are 3 to 5 feet underneath the ice. So obviously that's where we're going to focus our efforts. If you're using a traditional, you know, flasher 2D sonar, that information's just not there. They can just be off to your left or to your right, and you look straight down your hole with your electronics and you're just not going to see them. So a lot of us at Wired to Fish are pretty into hunting. Well, a lot of us will take the same approach when we're looking for fish, and that's stealth. This is a 40V StrikeMaster auger electric, so that in itself is much more quiet. You know, it's not like firing up the old 2-cycle gas auger and ripping around holes, and I mean, you can hear a guy fire up an auger a lake over. Having the 40V, the weight is cut in half, so you're just able to walk across the ice, drill your holes. Everything is a lot more quiet. Little bluegill, little bluegill. But as you can see, there's so many of them. And the one thing, you know, obviously you're gonna have different size fish, but the one thing that I like about good plastic, this happens to be a little Lunkerhunt. This has a little spade tail plastic on it. But look at this, watch that little plastic. Look at that, I can just stretch that. So for me in fishing bluegills, that's a good deal, because you just have so many of them that come up and pick and pull at the tail. A lot of those smaller ones, you know, so if you can sit there and just wait out the picking and pulling, sooner or later a big one's gonna come up and he's gonna eat that whole thing. So a lot of times the bite window can be really short-lived, so while you sit and wait for that school to come through, you have to get them while the getting's good. So a good durable plastic is going to allow you to just catch that many more fish and not fiddle around with baiting or putting new plastics on. Not at what I was doing. There you go. There, you got it. I mean, I could just see the size of that mark was twice as long as the rest of them. It's so neat to be able to kind of decipher, okay, that's a panfish, and that is not a panfish. Now, I wouldn't have been able to tell you if that was like a little walleye or whatever, but we have caught a couple bass in here, and I had a sneaking suspicion that it was a bass, but it was kind of fun. There's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're fishing late ice. Safety is obviously the main concern there, and we like wearing these suits. These are float suits. These are a StrikeMaster float suit. Take a look at the shoreline. If you look behind me, that's a north-facing slope, still very loaded with snow. Not touched as much by the sun. Now if you shift over here and pan a bit to the left, that's all south-facing. There's hardly any snow up there. So if you're looking to get on a lake safely, your best bet is to definitely hit the north-facing sides. It's going to be less deteriorated ice, chances are it's going to be a lot safer. This on the left side, the south facing, what you have is a lot of runoff and the ice will just start to deteriorate. That can get a little more sketchy. Very doable, but it just gets a little bit more sketchy. You just want to keep your wits about you if you're coming out on a body of water on a south facing hillside. So it's just a few things to keep into consideration when you're out late ice fishing, but it can be a really, really good time.